wear Black Power Media gear, you can accomplish anything. You can play any and every position, from coaching to kicking to receiving to running and juking. And oh my goodness, let's see that again in slow motion. Get off me. And you're going to have a lot of haters coming at you, but what you got to do is you got to shake them off, and get to your goal and accomplish it. And when that's done, it's a beautiful thing. I'm talking about going hard, extra, for that extra point. And when it's done beautifully, you talking about touchdown. Oh, and the crowd goes wild and they're celebrating with you and everything. Man, let's see that again. Nice.
Black Power Media, baby. That's how we do it.
Now go to blackpowermedia.org and get you some of that gear. Empower yourself today. Yeah.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. Hey, what's up, world? Welcome to this special pop-up live edition of I Mix What I Like right here at Black Power Media. Again, I'm Jared Ball, very happy to be your host. If you got a chance and people got time, grab somebody and invite them to join you. Otherwise, those who will see this later, peace, welcome to you as well. Appreciate you. Ascribe God blessed. I like how that sounds too. That's dope. Ascribe God blessed. Thank you for making this your second home and welcome. Peace, everybody. Peace, everybody. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Franny. So listen, shout out to Ella Septima Hamer, who is the handle that I know on Twitter that where I saw this story earlier, and thought I would jump on here real quick and share it. Yeah, just because it speaks so much to a lot of what I know that I'm focused on myself, and I think relatedly, many of us on this platform are associated, and it raises some very important issues and questions. So let's check this story out. It is from the American Prospect: Ideas, Politics, and Power, a piece by Harold Meyerson. I'm not familiar terribly, at least, with the outlet here or the writer. But the story here is the problems with the Amazon labor union. Today on tap, how the company's refusal to bargain has empowered the ALU's president, but hurt the union. So if we can, what I'd like to do is go through the entire story. Although, you know what I want to do, though? I think in my haste, I didn't set this up the way I wanted to set it up. So we just do a little live adjustment here. And you might hear my baby girl practicing piano a little bit. You might hear a couple other things. You know, it's a bustling Friday night in the Ball household. But let's see if I can get this to where, and you know what? Okay, here we go. Let's see if we could do it this way. May have a little more fun with this here, like this here. Woo, 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 woo. And let's reduce that there. Yeah, I like it. I like doing it like this better. So boom, let's go. And that way I don't have to do it this way and use up my browser. There we go. That's a little bit better and less taxing on the browser. All right, so then what I need to do here then is let's come on over here and knock those out, and there we go. Boom, a little bit better, I think. Anyway, but as I was saying, so I'd like to read this entire story. It's not that long, and it hits so many key points. So I'm just gonna do that. There's trouble in the Amazon labor union. Yesterday, the New York Times, and this was published just yesterday, so this would have been the 22nd, I guess. Yesterday, the New York Times' Noam Scheiber reported that a rift has opened between the union's president, Chris Smalls, and many of the union's activists, staff, and other leaders. At issue with Smalls' emphasis on organizing other Amazon warehouses beyond the one that successfully voted to go union, JFK 8 on Staten Island. and the opposition's emphasis on continuing to maintain worker support at JFK 8 and building organizational infrastructure and procedures there to strengthen the union's hand in bargaining a contract with Amazon. The opposition has a much better case, or has much the better case, I should say. None of the other warehouses that Smalls has visited and pushed for a vote at have seen workers prepare the necessary groundwork for a successful unionization vote. Smalls' cross-country trips smack more of a grand tour than an organizing strategy. Conversely, those who have sought to focus on building the capacity of JFK 8 to successfully grapple with the company over the bargaining table brought in Jane McAlevey. I'm not familiar with her, but as it says here, she is one of the most accomplished union strategists and organizers, and was brought in to help JFK 8 build the support necessary, as the story is talking about, to continue the fight. Once having agreed to go union, they have to continue to fight to actually make it happen. But Smalls' continued emphasis on his more far-flung and far-fetched strategy compelled McAlevey to cease her work with the union. Smalls then told staffers and other leaders that if they disapproved of his strategy, they could leave. Worse yet, he insisted that the union not hold an election for its officers among its members until a contract is reached with Amazon, thereby ensuring his continued tenure in office for, well, the foreseeable future. Which brings us to the real authors of the union's troubles. The company and the weaknesses. Let me try that again. Which brings us to the real authors of the union's troubles. The company, that is Amazon, and the weakness of labor law that permits it to delay any serious bargaining with the union. In other words, an absence of political power among unions and those who would support working people. The sad fact is that employers routinely and often indefinitely delay bargaining a first contract with workers who voted to go union in the hope that the delay will cause workers to lose interest in the union and possibly vote for to decertify it. A study by Cornell University's Kate Bronfenbrenner revealed that 1 year after their workers have unionized, 52% of the companies still have not bargained a contract with them. And 2 years after that vote, 37% of those companies have yet to bargain a contract. The various efforts that Democrats have waged to restore labor law to its original potency have included provisions for mandatory mediation and contract enactment if certain time limits are exceeded, but none of those efforts have been able to clear the Senate's 60-vote hurdle to become law. Said differently, even when the Democrats have a majority in the House and Senate, they can't get anything passed that would meaningfully support the ability for union organizers to strengthen their efforts. And then, of course, they can wait till they don't have a majority and blame it on the Republicans. And this is why, I think this may have been, if not the first, it was in the top 2 or 3 criticisms that I had of Barack Obama going back to the very first, his very first term, his very first election, that he immediately dropped discussion and his promised support for the Employee Free Choice Act, which would have done, if I remember correctly, all of this and more in strengthening the ability for workers to build unions in their workspace. He never supported it once elected, and I don't even think he ever mentioned it again. So by the time everything else has gone on and we are where we are today, it's just, this is it. So then I think the article gives us some important history here that in context, which I really appreciated in such a short piece. How then did the massive unions that formed in the 1930s and grew to represent over 1/3 of the workforce by mid-century overcome this hurdle? The short answer is through direct action that compelled the companies to bargain, more precisely, strikes that shut those companies down. The great strike against General Motors that auto workers waged for recognition of their union in the first months of 1937, the breakthrough strike for American labor, took the form of occupying, fortifying, and thereby closing down 2 factories that produced the key components for GM cars, most especially Flint, Michigan's Chevrolet No. 4, which assembled the motors for nearly all GM vehicles. Thousands of workers ringed the plant to keep company thugs from attacking it, and President Roosevelt and Michigan Governor Frank Murphy, both of whom had received huge labor support in the November 1936 elections, declined to send in the National Guard or Army to break the strike. Given all that, GM quickly agreed on a contract with the UAW. So I love the fact that they're saying what this article is saying one way or another, that we need political power, not small businesses and circulation of dollars. And then there needs to be direct action in the form specifically of strikes. Now, in the coming paragraphs, the author explains a couple of things that show some limitations on, I think, popular conceptions of labor action and of the potential specifically in Black communities for Black people to use their buying power and the threat of a boycott to hurt specific companies, and why I've been saying for a long time that this is, in this day and age, mythology. But I do like the point here that the focus is direct action and strikes. That is always, as I've always understood it, labor's number one bargaining chip. The most powerful thing that labor can do is maintain the right to strike. Today's Amazon workers, and for that matter, the workers of more than 200 Starbucks outlets who voted to go union, face a more hazard-strewn landscape. Taking one Amazon warehouse or even several hundred Starbucks offline won't shut down those companies. Alfred Sloan, GM's president in 1937, was every bit as anti-union as Starbucks' Howard Schultz is today. But a company with just 24 factories, which in turn were dependent on parts from just one factory, was much more susceptible to workers' desire for a union than a global retailer with hundreds of thousands of facilities is today. Moreover, in the decades since 1930, a series of court decisions and more anti-union business practices have so undermined labor law that even a company with just a few workplaces can delay reaching a contract for months or years, as well as simply violate labor law with little or no fear of meaningful penalty. Again, this is my point, specifically when we hear suggestions or calls or claims in certain pockets of Black capitalists, Black business communities, spaces, that Black people should be boycotting Nike and Adidas and this, that, and a third, and Coca-Cola and whatever else. This is exactly why that won't work. It's not going to work. Direct action and strikes. There's one other significant difference between then and now that the current rift with the ALU, Amazon Labor Union, makes clear. Unions that suddenly spring into existence often have initial leaders with the charisma to have inspired the first group of workers to go union, but have little capacity to actually run a union. That's exactly what happened in the UAW in the first years. The small fledgling union was initially led by Homer Martin, a former Baptist minister who could make rousing speeches. When the union suddenly ballooned to include several 100,000 members, Martin was plainly out of his depth and was replaced by more competent leaders. Precisely because the union did grow and establish itself by winning contracts with the big three auto companies, an organization and culture took shape that was capable of selecting appropriate leaders. Today, Chris Smalls seems a leader in the mold of Martin. But because Amazon has successfully opposed unionization everywhere but JFK 8 and has refused to bargain a contract with the union there, once the contract is in place, the union would be required to hold the election that Smalls is currently resisting. It is effectively complicit with Smalls in keeping him atop the union. Such is the state of business practices and labor law that an unlikely pairing of Jeff Bezos and Chris Smalls has now emerged. This is not good news. Wow. So obviously there's a couple things here, starting with the fact that just for me, just in terms of being attentive to methodology, I haven't vetted this article. I don't know enough of the details to know how perfectly or not the article is. But I do, what I like about it and what intrigued me enough to want to bring it here is that the criticism of Smalls and the union reads to me in this instance as constructive. It's not ad hominem or some hateful thing. It's not anti-union, anti-Smalls. I think it reads to me like a sound constructive critique. But more importantly, beyond the specifics of Smalls and the ALU and JFK8 and all of that, for me are those broader issues that we're still constantly being told that Black people should look to certain past endeavors like the Montgomery bus boycott or this Buy Black or Bank Black or Circulate Dollar campaign, this, that, or the other, and including other forms of calls for boycotts, et cetera, and so forth. And this article summarizes very quickly a lot of the reasons why that's not possible in this day and age. Any number of these corporations that are having the major negative impact on Black communities and many others can withstand all of that. They're not bothered by all of that. And specifically to my argument is the fact that Black people don't have the buying power that is mythologized to exist and is not as necessary to these dominant international conglomerates as Black people would like to think. So that's why, again, as usual, the issue is a little more complicated, nuanced, and requires greater and levels of struggle than most of us are happy to engage. So it's harder than just saying even we'll boycott one company or we'll develop one union in one shop. It's a very difficult issue that requires large and sustained movements that are well organized and prepared to deal with all of these extenuating circumstances. And then finally, I just want to highlight that again, it seems that the article reminds us that what Dr. King, many others more radical than him, have advocated are forms of direct action that stop the normal flow or normal operating day-to-day business of this society. That's what is required to make things move in a different direction. But that itself requires a lot of organization and preparation, not the least of which would have to include being concerned for workers that are themselves on strike. And then, strike funds, all those kinds of things have to be. So anyway, so that's it. That was really it. I just wanted to bring that very quickly to our table, so to speak, here. And the full article is linked in the show description already for those to read more carefully. And then the last part about the Smalls piece, like it's similar to what I was saying earlier today on Earn Your Liberation, sort of the point I was trying to get at about my concerns with the ease with which organizations and efforts pop up around a cult of personality. So I'm not saying that's the case here with Smalls, but I'm also saying, as the article suggests, that that's obviously easier than what is required to build actual organizations. So it's not even in my case, a critique of Smalls himself or anybody else for that matter. It's the nature of the situation we're in. People pop up and present themselves as being willing to take certain positions and stances, but that's different from, and this is, again, like Dhoruba has said himself for years, this is why the victims of police violence can't be the ones leading movements to end police violence or police themselves. There needs to be broader, sustained, organized efforts that are beyond the emotions of suffering to the extent that's possible and beyond the initial rise of a strong and powerful, compelling individual. So sounds the same elsewhere. Thank you. Check the email I sent a few weeks ago about pre-majority unionism and the prospect of organizing at your workplace. Oh, my bad. I think I must have missed that. Can you resend that to me? And I apologize if I did not catch that. But I would definitely like to see that. But thank you. And thanks for the super chat. By the way, speaking of super chats, I just want to shout you all out. We got our quarterly report just today, and it came with the good news that BPM has done better than ever this quarter. A lot of not just financial support, but more views, more subscribers, more just attention. And I, for one, I'm sure I'm not alone here, but I, for one, am greatly appreciative of all of you for doing that. And that's the only way it's going to work, is if you all make it do that. So anyway, if you're sending it, if you want me to see it specifically, make sure you send it to me directly, just in case. I mixwhatilike@gmail.org. Unless that's what you mean, and anyway, I'll double check. Let's see. This article covers some of my thoughts because I've been seeing Smalls all over and ain't been seeing no updates about JFK. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I haven't been paying that much attention, to be honest. So when I saw that, and again, shout out to Ella Septima Hamer's Twitter feed for that. What was he tripping about? I don't remember that. I thought he did very well. I mean, again, given, the situation he's in, but again, so to me, what the way I also read this is similar to what it's almost the way I feel about celebrity. I'm less critical of the individual than the structure that encourages it. It's like, it's the same kind of thing. What could we expect? We can't expect Chris Smalls to be the perfect leader. It's not like he emerged and was the product of an organized effort, So, every stage of the movement requires different skills. Small served his purpose well. The next stage may require more of him and someone else. Exactly. And I think that's what the article is saying, and that's why I didn't take it as just some, silly hate-filled thing. But I admit I'm very moved by that these ideas for strikes and calls for general strikes and I don't know. So anyway, good people, that's funny. You guys are terrible. Yeah, that was really it. By the way, there's been some good feedback from the conversation that I had with Rosa yesterday about the Hip Hop Museum. Minister Server, I think, is going to come on this week and I think, and maybe with some others, and give a little bit of a different view. And I saw that one of Bambaata's alleged victims, Ronald Savage, left a critical comment, and I've invited him to join us as well. So we'll look to keep the conversation going. And there's, of course, the protest Monday morning in New York. And so we'll keep an eye on that as well and keep the conversation going as things continue to evolve. So, is that what's happening? Another economic collapse? Maybe. Is that what we need to move to? Drake is better than Kanye. I'm not thrilled with either of those choices. Anyway, okay. All right, good people. I don't need to take up too much of your Friday night. A lot of good programming coming up. So go enjoy yourselves. And thanks for coming by real quick. And if you got more to say, obviously
put it in the comments.
And we'll double back and check it out, because all we do is endeavor to be the
culture's top thought leader.
So everybody go have some, look at that. Look how delicious that soda looks. Go get you some soda. And don't get no penny tricks. All right, everybody. I'll catch you next time here at I Mix What I Like and throughout the BPM platform. Thanks again for checking us out. As always, like Fred Hampton used to say to you, we say peace if you're willing to fight for it. Only if you're willing to fight for it. So peace, everybody. Thanks again.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.